Understanding Life, Beauty, and Death. William Wordsworth, the father of Romantic poetry. But first, what is Romanticism?
Romanticism was an art and literature movement that came from Europe in the late 18th to the early 19th centuries, spanning its influence up to this day of the 21st century. This movement is strongly marked to a focus on individualism, the celebration of nature, idealization of women, and the celebration of the common man. The movement emerged as a rejection of the values and practices of the Age of Enlightenment, with its focus on reason and rationality that led to new ways of thinking and gave Romanticism the base needed to influence the world. Romanticism does not refer directly to the concept of love, but rather it focuses on emotions and the inner life of the writer. Romanticism in literature context refers to a particular way of viewing nature, literature, society, and individuality. The prominent Romantic writers of that time include William Wordsworth, John Keats, and Mary Shelley. They are often described as nature poets, especially Wordsworth. Romanticism in literature began with the publication of the lyrical ballads by William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. The preface to Lyrical Ballads second edition in 1800, in which Wordsworth defined poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings, became the creed of the English Romantic poetry movement.
Next, we will discuss about the characteristics of Romanticism. The three characteristics of Romanticism are nostalgia, glorification of nature, and idealization of women.
According to Oxford Languages, nostalgia is defined as a sentimental longing or wistful affection for a period in the past. However, romantics search for a connection in not only their past, but their future and their imagination as well. Nostalgia as a term first appeared in England in 1787 in medical reports about a Welsh soldier suffering from homesickness. You know those late nights when you're completing your university assignments and you're eating Maggie because that's all you have, but you really wish it was your mom's masak lemak instead? However, in modern times and outside of 18th century medical tents, nostalgia as a concept does not always refer to something physical, such as food. It can also be described as a desire to form a connection with something other than oneself. The idea of home itself is not something physical, but very much mental. One can feel at home with a group of people, regardless of the location they are currently in. One can even feel at home with something that is not real. Take, for example, the Harry Potter series. The series as a whole can be described as nostalgic, and many fervent fans consider the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry as their home, despite having never been there and the school itself not existing. It is not a surprise that such a powerful emotion is accompanied by criticism from Goodman, who says nostalgia is a way of producing and consuming the past that has become irrevocably associated with sentimentality. Or Jameson, who said it was an elaborated symptom of the waning of our historicity, of our lived possibility of experiencing history in some active way. We seem increasingly incapable of fashioning representations of our own current experience. While you can't deny that there is a certain truth to his words, after all, how many times have you tried to recreate something you've experienced in the past and succeeded? Nostalgia can bring comfort to others. As mentioned earlier, romantics can find nostalgia within their futures and their imaginations. Tanisha believes that romantic artworks give much reference to other contexts in the genre, including literature and the historical, bringing an observation of nature, animals, and people in an emotional manner. A few parting words from a cult classic imbued with nostalgia written by celebrated romantic author Mary Shelley. The whole series of my life appeared to me as a dream. I sometimes doubted if indeed it were all true, for it never presented itself to my mind with the force of reality.
Nature, sometimes seen as the opposite of the rational, is a powerful symbol in work from this era. Romantic poet and author provide intimate, in-depth on nature and its untamed, imposing aspects. Natural element can also serve as a metaphor for the poet or the writer's feeling. Like in John Keats' To Autumn, throughout the large portion of his belief, life and career, Keats was aware that he was dying for consumption, and his celebration of fall represents the beauty in the ephemeral. Nature, in Wordsworth's opinion, is the best teacher. The natural world promised to educate the country girl Lucy in the 3 years she grew poem. Natural elements like rock, soil, heaven, glade would have highly positive impact on Lucy's moral and also physical development. Nature was viewed by the Romanticists as a source of truth and beauty. The quality of nature is emphasized in a lot of Romantic literature. Wordsworth held the beauty of nature's creation by bringing us a lasting joy. He also wrote a new method for creating poetry that, in Wordsworth's word, is the spontaneous overflow of the powerful feeling, and gets its inspiration from emotion recollected in its calmness. In novels such as Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre, the Bronte sisters respectively upheld the wonders and terror of the English Moor.
The third characteristic in the Romanticism era is idealization of women. So writers during the Romanticism era would define women as innocent, fragile, naive, and some kind of perfection that needs to be taken with extra care and respected. During the Romanticism era, female writers did not have the recognition as men to represent women in their works. Authors did not write enough about women in their literary texts. In the Frankenstein book, it was mentioned that women had insufficient acknowledgement in literary texts. They tried to make people see women in their works that are concealed and desperate. Illiterate women during that time could not defend themselves why they are not mentioned enough in the literary works. The author argues in Norton's critical edition that feminists were critical of Romantic literature because it was perceived as misrepresenting women. Based on Mary Shelley's book Frankenstein, it has been written about women's sufferings, gender identity and roles, societal problems, and masculine traits of men. For example, Poe wrote in his poem Annabel Lee, where he put his partner on a pedestal and was in love with her beauty. He narrated that he was haunted by that love that was more than love. Poe's The Raven poem also tells about women that are often introduced as idealized love interests, fragile, unbeautiful, but have no worth. Unfortunately, some poems had to be published under male pseudonyms, such as works from Jane Austen, Charlotte Bronte, Mary Shelley, even though they were written by women.
In this video, we have chosen to talk about one of Wordsworth's poems titled 3 Years She Grew in Sun and Shower. This poem was one of the poems included in the Lyrical Ballads collection. In this poem, Wordsworth offers comfort and hope, but he acknowledges that the grief will never end. Consequently, this poem connects with numerous who have endured misfortune, for Wordsworth uncovers that he endures as well, and that there is some solace for pursuers since they believe they are in good company.
3 years she grew in sun and shower. Then nature said, a lovelier flower on earth was never sown. This child I to myself will take. She shall be mine, and I will make a lady of my own. Myself will to my darling be both law and impulse, and with me the girl in rock and plain, in earth and heaven, in glade and bower, shall feel an overseeing power to kindle or restrain. She shall be sportive as the fawn that wild with glee across the lawn, or up the mountain springs, and hers shall be the breathing balm, and hers the silence and the calm of mute insensate things. The floating clouds their state shall lend to her, for her the willow bend, nor shall she fail to see even in the motions of the storm grace that shall mould the maiden's form by silent sympathy. The stars of midnight shall be dear to her, and she shall lean her ear in many a secret place, where rivulets dance their wayward round, and beauty born of murmuring sound shall pass into her face. And vital feelings of delight shall rear her form to stately height, her virgin bosom swell. Such thoughts to Lucy I will give, while she and I together live here in this happy dell. Thus nature spake. The work was done. How soon my Lucy's race was run. She died and left to me this heath, this calm and quiet scene, the memory of what has been, and never more will be.
Trees She Grew in Sun and Shower is a poem by William Wordsworth. It describes the growth and development of a young girl in harmony with nature. Here are some strengths and weaknesses of the poem. Firstly, the beauty and innocence of childhood are the poem's central strength. Readers can truly immerse themselves in the natural world described in the poem because of Wordsworth's exploration of the human soul through literary context. Secondly, the poem explores transition and transformation while charting the growth and development of a little girl over the course of 3 years. Wordsworth uses the girl's development as a metaphor for the cycle of life and change in general, following on how one perceives life's journey. Thirdly, throughout the stanzas, Wordsworth humanizes nature by giving it traits that are similar to those people in real life. This gives the natural world a sense of depth and emotions that supports the poem's ideas of connectivity and harmony between humans and nature. Following that, with strength comes weaknesses. The poem's main weakness is that it doesn't have a straightforward narrative, and instead, it focuses on how growth and change occurred in cycle. Consequently, some readers could find it challenging to follow and comprehend the purpose of the poem. Secondly, Wordsworth's use of complex and detailed language could be challenging to understand. This makes it hard for the readers to appreciate the poem completely. Thirdly, the poem is written from a viewpoint that mostly ignores the human world and concentrates on the natural world. This might make it less likely to appeal to readers who prefer subjects and viewpoints and background contexts that are more human-centered.
Did you know? Plenty of famous paintings in the Romantic period convey natural disaster to show the power of nature over man. For example, The Ninth Wave by Ivan Ivzovsky and The Raft of Medusa by Theodore Géricault. Thank you for watching, and we hope you enjoy our video.